All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're uncovering a massive hidden world that is literally right beneath our floors and behind our walls. We rarely think about our plumbing until something actually goes wrong, right? But we're going to explore this fascinating intersection of environmental science, local history, and practical geometry that keeps the water flowing safely, specifically looking at the unique and pretty harsh conditions of Whitefish Bay.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, the Whitefish Bay Challenge. Second, winter freeze and tree roots. Then, the geometry of plumbing. And finally, the professional fix. Starting right off with Section 1, the Whitefish Bay Challenge, nature versus infrastructure. Now 15 degrees, that number is absolutely crucial. It's the exact temperature where exposed pipes and unheated spaces will begin to freeze and rupture overnight. Because in places like Whitefish Bay, sitting right along the lake, nature simply does not care about your home's structural integrity. When the mercury drops, water turns to ice, it expands, and suddenly those ordinary pipes hiding in your crawlspace are basically ticking time bombs. And we see this relentless seasonal cycle year after year in Milwaukee County. The assault on the infrastructure kicks off in November as the initial freeze risk sets in. Then, by midwinter, temperatures plummet well below that critical 15-degree mark, triggering those catastrophic pipe ruptures. And as if that wasn't enough, March rolls around with rapid spring thaws, sending massive amounts of melting snow against foundation walls and completely overwhelming aging sump pumps. It's a relentless gauntlet.
Moving on to Section 2, winter freeze and tree roots, the threats beneath your feet.
Think about the original materials used in historic homes built between the 1920s and 50s, like the ones you see in your Clode Park. Over the decades, that old galvanized steel rusts from the inside out, and those clay tiles become incredibly brittle. Now contrast that with the modern upgrades professionals use today, like flexible, temperature-resilient PEX tubing and highly durable copper. Upgrading is absolutely essential here because those vintage materials are, quite frankly, just running out of time. Because you have these creeping, invisible threats hiding right under the soil, constantly testing the limits of these 70-year-old homes. First, Milwaukee's famously mineral-heavy water is slowly corroding those old galvanized pipes, restricting water pressure. Then, the gorgeous mature trees near places like Richards Elementary actually seek out the moisture in those clay sewer laterals, growing right inside and crushing them. Add in the naturally high water tables near the lakefront, constantly stressing foundation drains, and it's a perfect storm.
Which brings us to my absolute favorite part, Section 3, the geometry of plumbing, the math in your walls. So ask yourself, can a drain pipe have a 90-degree elbow? You'd probably think a simple right angle makes total sense inside a wall, but this actually reveals a major secret about horizontal water flow. Sure, gravity lets water drop straight down a vertical pipe into a sharp turn perfectly fine. But forcing horizontal water flow to slam into a sharp 90-degree wall, that creates massive turbulence. It slows the water down drastically, letting sediment settle, which practically guarantees recurring clogs.
So, how do the pros fix it? They use a trade secret called the 135-degree rule, and it's absolutely vital in older homes where sediment buildup already restricts flow in that aging cast iron. Instead of a single sharp 90-degree block, they use two 45-degree fittings spaced out to create a gentle, sweeping 135-degree turn. By giving the water a gradual path, they eliminate those harsh backup points, dramatically reducing turbulence and saving homeowners from constant maintenance headaches.
Now, if you thought that was getting into the weeds, wait until you hear about this number, 1.414. It seems random, but it's actually a fundamental pillar of plumbing geometry used in tight crawl spaces.
Imagine a plumber needs to route a pipe around a large HVAC duct. They need to create a precise offset. By simply measuring the horizontal gap they need to clear and multiplying it by 1.414, they instantly get the exact pipe length required for a perfect 45-degree diagonal stretch. That is literally the Pythagorean theorem applied in real time under your floorboards, ensuring the pipe maintains the exact slope required by strict building codes.
Okay, let's wrap things up with Section 4, the professional fix, execution and economics. Look, local regulations like Wisconsin Administrative Code SPS 382 are incredibly strict, and professional compliance isn't just about safety, it is literally a financial shield for your property's value. You need strict county permits for things like water heaters and sewer lines. If you try to skip that to save a few bucks, unpermitted work can completely stall your home's resale. And even worse, if an unpermitted pipe fails and floods your living room, your insurance company will outright deny the water damage claim. No way around it.
To prevent those absolute disasters, professionals rely on a very strict three-step process. First, a high-tech assessment, often running fiber optic cameras down your drains, followed by a completely transparent written estimate. Step 2 is executing the repair strictly to that Wisconsin code we just talked about. And finally, Step 3 is rigorous testing of the new connections and full cleanup before they ever pack up their tools. It takes a total emergency and turns it into a controlled, predictable process.
Let's talk numbers, because knowing the baseline protects your wallet. The reality of hiring a licensed master plumber involves an hourly rate usually sitting between $100 and $200. Plus, just getting the truck to your driveway and utilizing their diagnostic expertise incurs a call-out charge of $75 to $150. Knowing these standard estimates helps you identify when a quote is fair, noting that those call-out fees are very often credited toward your final repair bill.
Because when a basement floods at 2 a.m., time is literally water damage. You don't have time to wait for parts while ice is expanding or tree roots are backing up your sewer line. That's why rapid logistics, like a 60-minute emergency dispatch and trucks stocked with over 400 specific parts, are the ultimate weapon here. The entire goal is to respond 24/7, stop the active water damage immediately, and fix the problem in a single visit.
So, understanding your home's hidden infrastructure is truly your first line of defense. We've walked through the freezing limits of winter weather, the silent war waged by tree roots, the clever geometry hiding in your walls, and the harsh realities of building codes. I want to leave you with this thought. Knowing the hidden math and the creeping environmental threats beneath your floorboards, is your home truly ready for the next 15-degree freeze?